On Wednesday, April 25th, 2026, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth quoted a fiery Bible passage from Quentin Tarantino's 1994 film Pulp Fiction in a routine prayer session in the Pentagon. In what many saw as a flagrant abuse of the Bible and its image for his own political gain, Hegseth used this quote to prop up the U.S. war in Iran. But what's funny is just how wrong he was to do so. For in so doing, Pete Hegseth showed that he doesn't understand Pulp Fiction. Not at all. And to explain why, let's talk about the film. Pulp Fiction is framed within the world of alternative justice. Jules and Vincent are hitmen, mob boys for hire. Marcellus is a ruthless crime boss. Butch, a boxer roped into another world of alternative justice when Marcellus offers him money to throw his last match. Zed and Maynard run an underground BDSM operation where they rape their victims before murdering them. No longer do institutions dictate what is right and wrong. Instead, we are given a glimpse into the seething underbelly of the everyday. For all of this could very well happen in our real worlds. In the wake of the classic image of totalitarianism's death, the Nazis, the commies, etc., defeated by America, the new superpower, we have amorphous freedom, symbolized by LA. But this freedom is porous, too. It's filled with gaps that must be filled with meaningful narratives and made sense of so that otherwise unconnected events can be lived as a coherent life world. Whether or not this is even possible in postmodernity is poignantly put by the film's narrative structure, featuring two separate narrative trajectories that do not directly diegetically coincide. Jules and Vincent on the one hand, and Butch on the other. Each of these separate narratives is tasked with finding its own way to make sense of real-world problems in the wake of grand narratives, taking justice outside of the official channels of power to be wielded by normal, complicated people. Seen in this light, no film is worse for the United States Secretary of War to quote than Pulp Fiction, since it very clearly situates itself outside of the law and its official channels of power. Not once do we interact with the police, courts, or any official arms of the state in the film. The one time we do encounter someone law-adjacent, it is Zed, the BDSM-flavored rapist who dons a police uniform but whose official status as officer is questionable. It's as if Tarantino is preemptively setting the record straight on who does what to who. The state fucks you. One should therefore be primed against any agent of state power attempting to leverage Pulp Fiction as an ideological weapon. It is set up to resist official weapons. Furthermore, the lines Hegseth quotes are part of a postmodern, deeply subversive narrative that explicitly confronts the ambiguities of the meaning-making process and the alternatives to violence in a world where it appears so commonplace as to be necessary, an indispensable aspect of human functioning. Ezekiel 25:17 is not from the Bible, at least not in Tarantino's hands. Twice is this verse made the cornerstone of a monologue in the film by Jules, played by Samuel L. Jackson, once at the beginning and once at the end of the film. Importantly, what Jules speaks is nowhere to be found in the Bible, not precisely the way he says it. Rather, he speaks a chimeric, ballooned version of the real Ezekiel 25:17, one that keeps its vague essence while at the same time vastly exaggerating its tone and narrative implications. Alluding to other parts of the Bible, such as Genesis 4:9, "Am I my brother's keeper?", Tarantino crafts a real-unreal hybrid that blurs the line between the genuine and the counterfeit. An ambiguity fit for a film that blurs the line between genuine and counterfeit justice. And he's not the first postmodern to do this. Jean Baudrillard, in his seminal work of postmodern media theory, Simulacra and Simulation, opens with a quote from Ecclesiastes that very obviously is not from Ecclesiastes. The simulacrum is never what hides the truth. It is truth that hides the fact that there is none. The simulacrum is true. When we read this, we are indirectly shown our instincts for meaning by our reaction against misidentification and misattribution. If we quote something wrong, even deliberately so, will people notice? In simulacra and simulation, I think the point is very obviously to make one notice. To draw attention to the strangeness of quotation and the arbitrary but systematically coded nature of quotation as a practice that we can all make sense out of. So when we are shown a false quote, our meaning ears perk up. We are now on alert. But something else, something more is going on in Pulp Fiction. Maybe it was just me, but upon first watching the film, I didn't know this wasn't the real Ezekiel 25:17. I thought, damn, that's one badass Bible verse, and moved on with making meaning. Not until after watching the film did I begin doing research on this line, and only through Christians going to social media to correct Pete Hegseth by pointing out that this is an inauthentic Bible passage did I come to find out that this was not the real Ezekiel 25:17. And while it would be easy to rebuke me for failing to notice and chastise the inauthentic plagiarism of the Bible and its style, I don't think that would be right. No, I think I wasn't alone in this initial assumption that nothing was inauthentic about the passage. It sounds like the Bible. The way Tarantino writes it is as pastiche, a device unique to postmodernism that is similar to parody, yet crucially is blank. It copies, but not for the ulterior purpose of deriding, mocking, or subverting what it quotes, but simply copying because that is what one must do. Because the postmodern is a circulation of copied styles pasted into new contexts in an attempt to wring more meaning out of them. In a hyper-productive consumer capitalist world, copying is an essential part of the production of cultural commodities to be disseminated. And as pastiche shows us, style is a quotable commodity. Circulating the Bible as an ideological commodity capable of being leveraged for ideological, violent purposes, Tarantino's implementation of this pseudo-passage is used precisely to resist the meaning Hegseth gives it when he co-opts it in his Pentagon prayer session, propping up the U.S. war in Iran. Hegseth seems completely ignorant of the reversal, or rather the pluralization, of alternate meanings that the passage is subjected to upon its requotation at the end of the film. Here, the passage means exactly the opposite of a call to violence, carrying out God's vengeance against the iniquitous. Rather, Jules incorporates the passage into a contemplative monologue exploring a number of alternate possibilities for meaning that he has come to over the course of the film. Opened up to the possibility that it might mean something else than the way he'd been using it, the entire film is hinged upon this self-reflexive practice of examining the many options of meaning. And I use the word option very intentionally here. For if meaning is highly susceptible to the context in which something meaningful is quoted, it is because meaning is a form of rhetoric. Something politically and situationally malleable, capable of a practically infinite number of permutations to suit the situation best. As Jules discovers about his revered Ezekiel 25:17, it is not that it does mean this new meaning that gives cause for pause, but that it could mean something else, and that he decides to make it mean something new. Meaning is a deliberate, political construction that at this moment is laid bare as an arbitrary yet nonetheless key aspect of culture. So when Hegseth quotes this passage, it's fitting that he's not quoting the Bible, but quoting Pulp Fiction, and in such a way that he clearly did not understand its critique of institutional structures of meaning-making and power.
And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know I am the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon you. I've been saying that shit for years.